Hey guys!
Hey guys, this is Michelle.
And this is Mark.
And there's Lori. Wait.
Where?
Over here.
Over there, yeah.
Right here.
That's Lori. That's Lori.
Right here. Boy, it's confusing. It's all backwards.
It is. And we are back for another episode of This is Mark and Michelle. And what we have decided...
Actually, we're here for Bob and Jenny.
Bob and Jenny? Okay,
That's
whoever
a joke.
Bob and Jenny is. Right?
Hi, Krista.
And we are going to talk about behind the autism tonight. And what we mean by that is the personality that is there that only comes out when you're able to recover from it. The autism, that is, not the personality. Although you're recovering in the personality, just not from it.
So first of all, you might notice that your autistic person has hyper-focus, specific things they like.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't even say like, it's just stuff that they do. Well, Mark had those.
Things that I just did, right? And
Like?
those things were computers.
He tinkered all the time.
Specifically programming, playing around with different operating systems like Linux and FreeBSD, which is a form of Unix, and reading about them and messing around with them and tinkering with them.
Tinkering.
That covers all of it.
Mark was a tinkerer and a pilferer.
Yes, I was a pilferer. I got into other people's things, mainly as a kid. I did that a few times as an adult too,
yeah.
but I don't do that
at your
anymore.
mom's.
Yeah, at my mom's, yeah. And rifle through drawers just to discover what was there, you know. And that's how I justify it. But yeah, I had that.
World War One.
I was moving on.
Oh, sorry.
World War One planes. I've always loved those. In fact, you can't see it here, but I have a picture of World War. In fact, over on the other wall back here, you see that computer in the corner over there?
For our podcasters, that doesn't help at all.
Right, I know. I'm pointing to a corner of our room. I've got a computer in that corner. Well, above that computer screen, that monitor, is in a frame is the first 64-bit processor I had. And that's how geeky I am. And a picture of a Fokker triplane from the First World War. And those are just two of the things that I've always liked. They were hyper-focuses for me. Cooking was a hyper-focus for me.
That was my favorite.
Well, I can understand. That was my favorite. And because you can't eat a Fokker triplane or a 64-bit processor. But that, let's see, reading history, that was that was a real hyper-focus for me. And early music was another one. And those were all things that I just got into to de-stress and get lost in. And I did get lost in all that stuff. I really did. And Frank Lloyd Wright was another one. And that was from the early 90s when I was in my early 20s. But anyway, the reason we mentioned that is...
that was his personality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he couldn't show that he enjoyed it, or... It wasn't like a love. It was just something he did. But it was it was his personality. And when they came out, when his personality emerged, he loved those things.
Yes.
So the personality is buried under autism. But you can see little bits of it by what...
Peeking out.
But by what your person likes or does.
Well, and what she means when she says... he really liked them when they came out, when my personality came out, was, see, they were just things to me then. I mean, they didn't prompt any emotions in me, those subjects. I just did them because I liked them. And like, for me, when I was autistic, wasn't very strong. Now, it may be for others, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about me. I am the leading expert in my autism. All right. So that being the case, as I recovered, I had much stronger desires for these things.
Right.
I mean,
desire came on.
Oh yeah, it really came on. And so just to learn more about them. So I started getting more books on World War I planes for Christmas and birthdays. And didn't really need any more cookbooks. I had plenty of those. And but then computer books, stuff like this. And I enjoyed that, playing around with them, installing different operating systems, erasing them and installing something else, you know. But it really came on for me. And
hi, Marlo.
It's Marlo. And so Marlo, in case you don't know, we're talking about behind the autism, the personality behind the autism, and how the personality comes out as you recover. Now, it really came out in me. Really strong desires, like getting to know her better.
Right. We had a fight.
We had a few fights.
Okay, well, I just remember the one when it was Christmas. It was like the Christmas season, and I was a musician, so I was busy. Recital, playing for lots of things. And he comes in and says, "You're too busy. I want to know you better."
Yes,
like,
I want to spend more time together, I said.
This is just not the opportune moment for this.
No, and I didn't think that. That was 2015.
You were just waking up a little bit.
2016, yeah. And we're still on the gaps. The gaps helped a good bit, but then it made me sicker in the sense of it backed up my liver. But that's not really what we're talking about, because God knows we spent plenty of time talking about that. So, but yeah, we were sitting in there in the recliners, and I was like, look, I want to spend more time together.
It's a lot of pressure, because I was already under a lot of pressure.
It was. And so, but her answer was, look, I've been in this relationship for 20-something years. This is like your first year of the relationship. That's what she said. She said, I'm in the middle and you're at the very beginning. And I realized, okay, well, I'm going to have to catch up. But then I realized I'm never going to catch up. And what I meant by, I see you analyzing it, but
I don't think that's true. I think you're going to all of a sudden just like it's going to be there for you.
Well, I think it already has.
I think so too. I don't.
Yeah. And so I don't have to catch up, because as I recover, I just morph into more understanding about what our relationship is. You know what I mean? And so, and what it is I've also learned how to, the meaning of this, what has really happened is being able to enjoy more the time that we have together. Mm-hmm. That has happened a lot more. And because I didn't enjoy much before when I was autistic, it just didn't hit me that way.
Well, you had the pandas.
And
that just put you in a negative place.
Well, the pandas, but it wasn't just the pandas. It was the alexithymia.
Oh, we have to look at what Marlo said. I'm going to read it for our podcasters. Oh my, I just had a fight with my 13-year-old son. First time ever. He just didn't want to study and he yelled back at me. 2 months on detox smoothies, plus eating better. Even he makes better choices in food. Marlo, fights are wonderful.
Yes, that
means the person is coming out.
Well, that's why she put the little smiley face with all the hearts.
All over.
Right. Well,
that's amazing.
I'll say this. On recovery, we have had more fights probably than we did even before I knew I had autism. Because what happens is that new personality is trying to establish itself.
Yeah.
And we even had an argument last week on this very same thing, because I was trying to establish my boundaries in my areas of operation. And that was stepping on her toes, because she had done that for me for years.
Yeah.
She had to take care of me in so many areas.
And it was just a habit.
It was. And now.
So we had to have a fight for me to break that habit.
Right, because she hasn't had any reason to examine it.
Right.
Until I got to the point of my, okay, look, just stop. Okay, I'm getting this now, And so we've had all kinds of fights about me stepping out and taking more responsibility. But then she hasn't been used to that, so there's been friction, And so that's what's happening with him. He might have yelled back at you. And see, when after a couple of years on recovery, well, after about 1.5 years, this started happening to me at work. And there was one woman I worked with. I love her now. She's great. I don't see her hardly at all, but she was difficult to work with. Now, so was I, but not for the same reason. And so she would yell at people. And so one day she got upset because I had put too many beans on to cook. And I a few minutes later, after she yelled at me about the beans, a few minutes later, I cornered her in the kitchen and I said, "Don't yell at me." Well, oddly enough, her reaction, the first time I'd ever seen her react that way to me, she was like, okay. She got scared and you could see it on her face. She never did that before. But then that means that something was coming out of me that hadn't up until that point in recovery. And that's what's happening with your 13-year-old.
Yeah.
He's feeling it more now than ever before.
The weird part of this is I see that cat butt.
And there's a tail going.
Yeah. The weird part is him giving off new things and not knowing he's giving them off, and me not registering that he's giving off new things. And that's how a fight can occur as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark often doesn't intend what's coming out because he has no control or filters in that area. It's a very strange process.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to use the gun analogy. Well, and here's something too, Marlo, and this is for all you folks listening and watching.
Say what she said.
When Marlo said this, that's what my son said. Mom, just stop. That's because he's setting the boundary for himself finally. He's feeling so upset on the inside, he can now express it. And that's what I'm getting ready to talk about. When I was autistic, I couldn't defend myself at all, not verbally or otherwise. I would just freeze up and I couldn't respond. And about a year and a half on recovery, that changed. Like I just explained with the woman that I worked with. She'd like to yell at people and get mad at them, and I told her, "Don't yell at me." Well, that scared her. And I was proud of myself. I told Michelle about that when it happened, because that was the first time that I can remember that I ever stood up for myself. And I was 47. Yeah, I was almost 47. I was 46, almost 47 before I could stand up for myself. And so, and Marlo, that's what you want, because then bullying will stop.
But also, Marlo, you've got a teenager
well,
who's waking up, and it's going to be very challenging for you.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, that's why we're talking about it now, so that, spoiler alert for you, okay?
So make sure you breathe a lot.
Yeah, she said
before you respond. Yes.
Yes, it is a wonderful thing
that he's defending
Marlo
himself.
said he's defending himself. That he is, because bullying will not happen. Bullies will feel him defending himself and feel him get mad, and they'll stop.
Yeah.
So because it happened for me.
That's wonderful, but it's going to be very challenging for you. It has been very challenging for me to have Mark come on, because he turns out has a huge personality, as you guys can see. And that's been, well, and I don't have a small one. So
she couldn't have a small one and survive me.
Yeah.
She has as big a personality as I do. So.
Well, but I went from no personality, almost no personality, to now this huge person I'm living with.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a challenge.
It has been, and it's been a challenge for me navigating this huge personality with the people that I work with.
Yeah. Because
I scare people. My uncle was like this. This was my mom's older brother, and he passed away in 2002 in his mid-50s. But Uncle Danny, he could look at any of his kids or any of his nieces and nephews, and with a look, we'd all shut up. Uncle Danny was scary. I could even tell Uncle Danny was scary when I was autistic. He was that scary. And I remember after this big, huge personality coming out, talking to my mom about it. And she's like, "Yep, he's just that way." She has a personality like that too. Hers is pretty big.
Yeah.
But
it's not as focused though.
No, it's not. And because she's sick.
Yeah.
But this personality, all these, I hear a lot of autistic adults, part of the neurodiversity movement, says autism makes me who I am. Well, I see why you say that. You're wanting to grab a hold of something that makes you special. I get it. But truth is, if your autism goes away, you'll be even more of who you are, and you won't realize it. It will happen.
Did it sneak up on you, and it was only through like the mirror of me?
Yeah. Well, and people at work.
Yeah. But you didn't really feel any change. You did feel it on gaps.
I only felt the change, those changes. I only felt the emotions in me when I healed up enough to do it, to feel it. And because gaps started that. However, a medical medium has really continued that in a big way. Getting rid of the heavy metals, I think, has changed that. Michelle has an uncle, and he always likes to make borderline remarks to her, almost like he's hitting on her. And he happened to be over at her mom and dad's house once, and we were all sitting down to dinner, me, her, and her mom and dad. And he was making comments, and I finally looked at him and I said, "Yeah, you could stop." And he was like, and the look on his face was like, he was surprised, because he had, I had said something to him once or twice before about that. It didn't make any difference. But this was the third time, and this was me recovering from autism, and he stopped. He did. He was like, "Oh, sorry." I was like, "Yeah," because it just got, it got a little too creepy for me. She was used to it, but I'm like, no, don't do it. So, and he stopped, and I was like, wow, I didn't know I had this in me. So, yeah, your guy is coming on, and there's a lot more to go.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. There's a lot more to go.
This is
5.5, 6, almost 6, well over 6 years.
Yeah.
And there could be more coming out.
Still coming
and
on.
I don't. Yeah. So after 6 years, so I don't know how big this is going to get, but not to be cheesy, but still, this personality that's come out, I am still me.
Yeah.
I'm still all the likes. I'm still the sweet person that I usually am. But now on the opposite end, that sweet personality is well balanced with a streak of, I don't know, almost insane anger at times. And I
think you're still just processing through brain changes.
Yeah. And so there is a lot of let's talk about smiling real quick. When I was autistic, I didn't smile hardly at all. There was no reason to, right? And now I used to have people look at me and say, "Oh, come on, smile." Oh, nothing pissed me off more than people telling me that. That made me, anger and frustration were the two emotions I definitely knew, was familiar with when I was autistic. But now, here's a good example. About a year into recovery, yes, almost insane anger. You're scaring me? Yeah. Look, you'll manage it, right? I mean, Marlo, you'll be fine, because he's 13. I wouldn't want you to do this with your husband. I mean, she is tough. She's seen the ups and downs, but this has been a scary ride for the both of us. But we survived it anyway.
Yeah, but there's been lots of good times.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of better times than ever.
Oh, absolutely. See, it's not all bad, Marlo. In fact, it gets even better, and that's why I'm talking about the smiling. So when I was autistic, I didn't smile much. People would tell me, "Oh, smile more." There was no internal reason to smile. In fact, people smiling just cheese me off. Who cares if you smile? I mean, it seemed fake to me most of the time. And so...
Well, we talked about, because your brain was so negatively wired.
Right.
From viruses and...
Right, from the pandas, right? That's true. It was very negative. The bacterial and viral infections make your brain negative. They just do. The toxins cause your brain to be negative. And so...
I wanted to have fun with him so bad
all
those years. Mm-hmm. And nothing I said could cheer him up or bring him out of a funk or...
No, it just didn't work.
No.
And so about a year and a half on recovery, on the gaps, her and I had an argument, and I was mad. We went over to my mom and dad's house, and we were sitting there, and she was hoping that I was going to come out of it. Well, she said something that I thought was funny. So right at the same time, first time I'd ever had this happen to me, I felt angry and I felt laughing, felt funny at the same time. And I told her, this is weird, man. I was angry.
Was still being angry at me.
I was angry and I was laughing at the same time. You know, it was a weird thing. I didn't know two emotions could exist in you at the same time. And I told her that, and I've always remembered that because that was a very strong story. And strong
occurrence happening. I can remember what I said.
Oh, I don't remember what you said. Doesn't matter. It was the fact that I was mad and laughing at the same time. But now smiling just happens. I am compelled to smile by an internal feeling. I don't know if there's external feelings, but anyway, but internal ones. I am now compelled to smile. And I have seen this happen in numerous children who are recovering from their autism. And a friend of ours in, I was going to say Arizona, New Mexico, her son, she has her son on the medical media, and she just posted the other day, he's smiling and pointing. You know, that's a big deal for moms. Big deal. It is a huge deal because that means that they're coming on to connections. You will have a better emotional connection with your son, Marla, than you will have ever had before. It is coming. You will see it. Because
preach it, man.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. And he will be the same boy that you have raised, but even more himself. It's going to happen. So well, did we want to talk about anything else?
No.
Throw anything else under the wire?
So we're working on the new book called Heal Your Autism's Do-It-Yourself Guide. Healing begins in your kitchen.
It does.
And
it really does.
How we did it with details, okay, so that you can follow what we're doing.
We're going to talk about detoxing. We're going to talk about supplements. We're going to talk about eating recipes, traveling while vegan so that you don't have to carry a kitchen behind you, that kind of thing. So anyway,
you can still download the Buried Alive One Man's Journey Out of Autism at www.healyourautism.com.
Mm-hmm. And continue to do your celery juice. Marlo, Krista, anybody else who's watching, celery juice, heavy metal detox smoothie, and lemon water. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Okay, bye.
Bye.